Maybe Tulsi should send out again the link and remind them on the WhatsApp.
It's a recording meeting, so maybe I'll ask him. Because nobody's there, huh?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Recording in progress.
The point is there is only one participant, and yesterday they sent out the wrong link. Did they send out the right link this evening? Because I have to start normally this time. But you can go and see Tulsi and ask it. Say, I started, you say, but there is nobody online. So. Okay. Om Jnanatimandasya Shanam Shana Shalake Chakshurunmilitam Tasmai Shigurave Namah Chichaitayamanubhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svamrapradamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shio Shiyuda Padakamalam Shigum Vaishnavam Sa Shirupam Jagajatam Sakanaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parjana Saitam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagalita Shivishakam Vitam Sa Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jyatpate Gopesha Gopakanta Radhakanta Namastate Tapta Kansna Gauri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sutadevi Pranamama Franka Kalta Visha Kripa Sindhu Visha Patram Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadhguru Bhakta Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinare. Namaste Shri Guru Acharya Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paspachani Satani Srila Prabhupada Ki. So this evening we will discuss mantra 2, 3 and 4 of the Isopanisad. So yesterday we discussed introduction, invocation, and mantra 1. Invocation was pointing out the completeness of the absolute truth. And the conclusion was that if we are a part of Krishna, so be a part. Be a part and you will feel complete. Otherwise you are apart and incomplete. And mantra 1 was about the Isavasya principle. The principle that everything belongs to the absolute truth, not to us. And we should live in harmony with this principle and accept our quota, what is meant for us. Srila Prabhupada discussed about vegetarianism, that our body is the body of a vegetarian, that the long intestines, the digestive system and so on. So that's our quota. We are vegetarians, but that should be dovetailed with that Isavasya principle. If everything belongs to Krishna, the Ishvara, is Isavasya principle, then we must offer everything to the Supreme Lord. And that's the point of mantra 2. Mantra 1, we have heard that everything belongs to Ishvara Krishna. Mantra 2 explains how to live in harmony with that principle. So, if we have heard the invocation, everything is perfect and complete. Mantra 1, everything belongs to Krishna. And how to live in harmony with its benefits, it's said here. And now that means in harmony, what is in agreement with that principle that everything belongs to Ishvara. And we should live in disharmony, what is against that principle that everything belongs to Ishvara. We will hear. Now we will go deeper into this, but first we will read the second mantra. Kavanneveya karmani shishi visekchatam sama evam tvainan yate tosti nakarma lipyate nare. One may aspire to live for hundreds of years if he continuously goes on working in that way, for that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative to this way for man. So this verse is a continuation of the previous verse. The previous verse we have heard the Isavasya principle, that everything belongs to Krishna. to Ishvara, that and now one must work in a way that one is in agreement with that. The previous verse said, yes, we must live that and accept only our quota. So we can only accept vegetarian food, but it goes further. This verse goes further. One must work in a way that one is accepting one's quota. That when one works in that way, one will not be bound. That no karma. If one is conscious that everything belongs to Krishna, and therefore then we accepting our quota, but first offer it to Krishna. And then the verse says, one may aspire for live for 100 years if he continuously goes on working in that way. For that sort of work will not bind him to the law of karma. There is no alternative for man. So the longer sinful people live, the more karmic reactions they get. And they accumulate more and more karmic reactions and they suffer. If a sinful person lives long, then he creates more sinful reactions for his next life. But for a devotee, to live long is a blessing. That there is no other way to live. This means there is no other intelligent way to live. If one wants to come down from the 20th floor of a building by jumping out of the window, then that's very dangerous. You are probably not going to survive. But the intelligent man, he takes the lift or the stairs. So if you don't live harmoniously, then there is no other way to live, because then there is karmic bondage. So we will now first look on the screen here what Srila Prabhupada discusses in the purport. That our karma bandhana causes death, birth, death, old age and disease. But we have the possibility to perform akarma. We will discuss what akarma means. That we are attracted to sense gratification, but bring God into sense gratificatory life. That connect at least. And because without him, we get karmic reactions, and everything is in vain. You have to die, you lose everything. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. One who lives for the pleasure of the senses, such a person lives in vain for nothing. So make all altruism into karma yoga. That's something, all the isms. Put Krishna in the center. We will also look at that point. So the first point is how karma bandhana causes death. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 3.9, Sagnarta karmano yatra lokayam karma bandhana. That's if one does everything as a sacrifice for me, there is no bondage, no karma, no reactions. So Srila Prabhupada starts to make the point that nobody wants to die. So how does one come out of it? So we will learn now about akarma. So essentially, akarma means pure devotional service. Here it said 3 kinds of karma. Karma, actions performed in terms of prescribed duties, thus within the varnashram, as mentioned in the scriptures. Vikarma is everything what's not mentioned in the scriptures. Is a misuse of one's freedom. One wants to be the enjoyer and the proprietor, which is not his position. Then one is directed to lower life forms. Then akarma, that is action in Krishna consciousness. It frees one from the cycle of birth and death. Its actions performed according to this Isopanisad principle. We hear in Bhagavad Gita, the soul is illuminated, the soul illuminates the body. So it pervades the whole body, through consciousness. Yata prakashyat yeka kritsam lokamidam ravi kshetram kshetri tata kritsam prakashayati bharata. 13:34 in the Bhagavad Gita. O son of Bharat, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. So the soul is eternal, the body is temporary. And the soul experiences the miseries of death because it is attached to the body. So in a movie we see the hero dies and everyone in the audience is shocked. Because the audience is emotionally attached to the body, they get affected when the hero dies. But the soul cannot suffer. But the soul identifies with the body. It's misidentification. It's the soul that is the body that feels the pain, the subtle body, the mind. And we are identifying with the mind. So to the extent we want to enjoy material things, not respecting this Isopanisad principle, we are bound by the material energy. Material life is like a horror movie. The ultimate end is death. The soul suffers the pain of immortality because it is bound by the desire to enjoy. Karma bandhana. Human life offers a possibility for liberation by akarmana, by performing this akarma. In the human life we can perceive the spiritual behind the material. So there are these 3 types of karma: karma, vikarma, akarma. But the word karma can have 4 meanings. Karma can mean action of any kind. Any action can be called karma, work. Sometimes when we are suffering, we say that we are suffering. It's because of my karma. It's my karma, Prabhu. But here one refers to the reactions of karma, not to karma, but to the reactions of karma. So the cycle of action and reactions can also be called karma. And the 4th meaning of karma is given here actions which are performed in terms of one's prescribed duties, as mentioned in the scriptures. So this is called also sukarma or good karma. That acting morally and responsibly. The opposite of that is vikarma, bad karma. Actions which are performed by the misuse of one's freedom, which directs one to lower life forms. So most people in this world perform so much vikarma. They are on the way to lower life forms. That as animals fight with each other, people fight in wars with each other like animals. That they are going down. That they fight in so many ways. But akarma does not mean no action or inaction, no. It means that it produces no reaction. That's akarma. Therefore, it's like not acting materially because one acts spiritually. That's so it's because there's inaction within the action. The inaction means that one does not act materially. There is no reaction, but there is action. But one acts spiritually, but one is inactive materially. So it's action which frees one from the cycle of birth and death. If we act for the pleasure of Krishna, then there is no reaction. Because that's what the Isavasya principle means. It means action in pure devotional service. That's what it really means. So, when the patient cooperates with the doctor, then the patient's recovery is smoother, more easy, they say. Anyway, not sure if that's true in Kali Yoga, but anyway, that's a general principle. But akarma is that we understand that the movie of this world is illusion, and there is no emotional involvement with the film. So don't take everything that happens in your life so serious. Don't take it too serious. It's all temporary and soon over. You have to leave the body, and then all the quarrels, all the miseries, it's all finished. All the bad relationships, gone, out of it. So when I'm in the army and I shoot the enemy, then I get a medal of honor from the government, because I have served the government. But outside the war, if I kill someone, I will go to prison because it is not authorized by the government. So that's what Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita 3.9. Shakhnarta karmano yatra lokayam karma bandhana tatartam karma kaunteyam mukta sangrachamachara. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, one's work will cause bondage in the material world. Therefore, son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duty for his satisfaction. In this way, you will always be free from bondage. So Srila Prabhupada said, factually, no one has to do anything more than render devotional service to the Lord. However, in the lower stages of life, one cannot immediately adopt the activities of devotional service, nor can one completely stop fruitive work. So often people are asking, is spiritual life a supplement, a complement to full material life? Does it complete material life? Actually, spiritual life is not a supplement or a complement. It is a replacement for material life. We are meant to go to the spiritual world and live entirely spiritual. before we come to that, we may think that spiritual life is an optional, additional activity. But this is an ignorant vision. It is essential that we bring God into our lives. So the Vedas lead us factually to akarma. That's what Srila Prabhupada writes in the 8th paragraph. And then he speaks about ism, different kind of isms. So these isms are very attractive forms of karma bandhana, bondage, karmic bondage. But the Vedic instruction of Sri Isopanisad is that if one actually wants to live for the above ism, he should make it God-centered. So altruism plus God is spiritual altruism. Normally people think that these forms of ism, such as altruism, are very attractive. But it leads to karma bandhana. Even nationalism is a form of karma bandhana. That without adding God, one will not be able to go on without karmic bondage. So we must spiritualize all this ism. So in life we want a good spouse, wealth, power. That is what people want mostly. That there is a circle of dharma and a circle of sense gratification. The area where both circles intersect, that is karma bandhana. This is religious materialism. So sense gratification plus God is karma kanda. This is religious materialism. But that's the beginning of most people of their spiritual life. They don't love God, but they love things in this world. So that is called karma kanda. In karma kanda there will be at least some elevation. Srila Prabhupada, when he was speaking to the Indians, he said, Bhagavad Gita is your heritage, so why don't you share Krishna consciousness with the world? Teach it. Srila Prabhupada would encourage Indians based on their ethnic identity, on their body. You are Indian, so you must preach. That he used their material sense, their false identification. And so he said, if you share Krishna consciousness with the world, the whole world will become Hindustan. Srila Prabhupada used their material attraction to act in the realm of Krishna consciousness. And Srila Prabhupada said to the Americans, do something wonderful through the engagement in devotional service. So the next point. So, Bhagavad Gita 2.13. There's a verse, Denasmin Chatate, the body does not change even when, the soul does not change even when the body changes. That's philosophical knowledge. That philosophically it proposes to reject the body. However, in 2.14, Krishna is telling the verse Matras Pastkantya Situsna Sukadukadu Sukadukada Agama Matras Pastkantya Situsna Sukadukada Agama Panitya Agama Payana Nityas Tamstitikshas Vabharata. You must tolerate all these changes. Matras Pashas to Kantya. You have to tolerate. all these changes of the body. You have to, like you tolerate heat in the summer, cold in the winter. We tolerate the distress and do not be interested and are not attracted to the happiness of the body. So that means, tolerate is bodily designation. Although we are not a body, still the fact is that we identify with the body. We use our bodily identity to elevate people to God consciousness. We don't massage or pinch the body or the false ego. The false ego means we identify with the body. If we say India is great and is the ruler of the world, then we are massaging the false ego. We do not do that normally. That India is useless, poor people are starving, mismanagement, that becomes denigrating, insulting. So people identify with their culture. To tell them all this is false, it's too much pinching of their false ego. So what's the message? We should act in a great way and not be caught up in this body identification. But in our preaching, we should also not reject people's bodily identity, but encourage them to use their bodily identification in spiritual activities. Srila Prabhupada was preaching to bodybuilders. He said, in society, kshatriyas are needed. He said that your ideal is Hanuman. Hanuman is always chanting the names of Ram, so during your exercises you chant the name of Ram. Srila Prabhupada encouraged people to use their bodily identification to practice Dharma. So we don't have to be dismissive about material engagement if they can be spiritualized. That's the point. Encourage people to offer their food and give it in charity. So we cannot expect people to come from the kindergarten of spiritual life to the doctorate level at once. The Vedic literature offers different levels of spiritual practice for that, to come to that point. We can warn people that if one is not practicing spiritual life, their life will be zero, wasted. They should put the one in front of all the zeros. Then it will be valuable. Srila Prabhupada said, there is no harm in becoming a family man or an altruist, a socialist, a communist, a nationalist, or a humanitarian, provided that one executes his activities in relation with Isavasya, the God-centered conception. So here, Srila Prabhupada gives an example how we can encourage people to begin their spiritual life. We are not against Grihastha ashram, but keep God in the center. First, the person thinks that my house is everything. Then he goes to the temple. After that, he brings the deity into his house. And then he becomes aware that God is in his heart. And gradually he becomes a devotee. So that is a progression. So, that is a progression. So, without God, everything is in vain. So with God, we flourish. Without God, we perish. With God, whatever we do will stay with us for a long time. Stop that for a moment. So Krishna described On this path in Bhagavad Gita it says there is no loss or diminution. Actually speaking, in spiritual life, whatever we do has eternal benefit. A humble, God-centered life is more valuable than a colossal hoax of life dedicated to godless altruism or socialism. A person may not be famous or rich, but a person devoted to God will reach the ultimate destination. If God is not there, whatever we do is not good enough to get out of karmic bondage. Without God, I stay in the material realm, and that's important. It is said, yes, in the beginning of the second canto of the Bhagavatam, a tree lives for 100 years, but what's the use of such a long life? There's no point in living such a long life. What makes a life valuable is not its length, but its quality, its contents. Important is how a person lives. Those who are not making spiritual advancement, they live a life of cats and dogs. Living like a tree or an animal is nothing glorious. Then we deprive ourselves from high potential. Srila Prabhupada writes here in the purport, even though such God-centered activities may be half finished, they are still good for the executor, because they will guarantee him a human form in the next birth. In this way, one can have another chance to improve his position on the path of liberation. So we have Bhagavad Gita. So that's mentioned at the end of the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 6:37. Yeah. Arjuna said to Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the pose of self-realization with faith but later desists due to world-mindedness and does not attain perfection in mysticism? O my Lord Krishna, does such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away, both spiritual and material success, and perish like a living cloud with no position in any sphere? This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely, but for you no one is found who can destroy this doubt. Krishna replies, O son of Pritha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activity does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil. The unsuccessful yogi, after many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or in a family of rich aristocracy. Or he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists, who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly such birth is rare in this world. On taking such birth, he revines the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success as son of Guru. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attached to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. So, that is clear from Bhagavad Gita, that one takes birth in a devotee family and makes further advancement. So the message is add God to your life. If you do not do that, then your life is wasted. Even if you apply God consciousness only partially to your life, that will be glorious. Human form that gives opportunities for further advancement. And the human form is guaranteed when you perform devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada How one can execute God-centered activities is explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. We have rendered this book into English as The Nectar of Devotion. We recommend this valuable book to all who are interested in performing their activities in the spirit of Isopanisad. So when we read Nectar of Devotion, then it speaks about Bhakti Yoga, not about Karma Yoga. In Karma Yoga, you bring God into it. Once people get into it, then they are ready to get a more complete understanding, or the understanding of Bhakti. It's a gradual process. People who are attached to material life, work, family, and so on, etc., then he encourages them to bring God in their life. And then they follow later Nectar of Devotion, all the 64 items of sadhana bhakti. So Srila Prabhupada's purport here is a masterpiece of really elevating people. Srila Prabhupada wrote his purports in the early Back to Godhead. At that time, Srila Prabhupada had not written yet Nectar of Devotion. This paragraph is not there in the original Back to Godhead. It has been added later. So Srila Prabhupada is demonstrating a progression in the Vedic literature. First is, a person wants to enjoy material life, and then bring God in your life, and then lead a person to where it is explained that God is not meant to be your servant or facilitator of material life, but the goal is loving God itself. So the ultimate goal of Dharma is to bring us from material to spiritual life. So that was mantra 2. Now we will go to mantra 3. Let's share screen, mantra 3. So, screen, so I read the verse first. Asuryanamate loke andena tamasavritam tamstipetya vigachanti yeke shatma anujana. The killer of the soul, however he may be, must enter into the planets known as the worlds of the faithless, full of darkness and ignorance. So it's a warning. If one life lives in a soul-killing way without awareness of one's spiritual nature, without taking care of spiritual responsibilities, one will go further in ignorance and in the future and suffer more and more. So we have here an overview of the Sripada's purports. So the point is, the basic message of the purport is to liberate the soul. Don't kill the soul. So who is a demon, Srila Prabhupada starts. Srila Prabhupada first explains that Asura means one who is demoniac. Etymology studies the origin of the words. It explains the meaning of the word and how the meaning has been constructed. Etymology. Like you have a lexicographer. Grapher means to write, and lexico means dictionary. So a lexicographer is one who makes a dictionary, the meaning of the word. So in some cases, the etymological meaning may not be historically precise, but rather semantically, according to the meaning precise. That it may not be exactly the way the words have been formed in history, but from the meaning point of view, they are illustrating it very well. Asura, you have yeah, we'll come to that. Asu means to breathe, breathing. That and Ra means to enjoy. Ramanta, Ramanticha, Ramanti, Ra, enjoy. That in 2:11 of Bhagavad Gita, Gatasun Agatasam Cha. One whose life air has gone away and one whose life air has not gone away. That Gatasam, yeah, Agatasam, yeah. A wise person does not lament either for these situations. Asa means life and Ra means to enjoy. Asura is one who enjoys the life air. The life air is in the body. One who wants to enjoy the body. That's Asura. One who wants to enjoy the body in a sensual way is an Asura. Srila Prabhupada in the purport writes, those who are cognizant of the responsibilities of human life and who work in that spirit are called suras, godly persons. And those who are neglectful for these responsibilities or have no information of them are called asuras, demons. So the suras are the opposite of the asuras. So who is an asura? That we have explained. Asura is not just a species but also a mentality. So the Rakshasas in the Ramayana, they have terrible forms. But in the Mahabharata, in battle, the battle is between human beings, and there are Rakshasas on both sides in the battle. Yeah. That the son from Bhima was a Rakshasa. And Ghatakaj, yeah. That's so in the Mahabharata, Duryodhana is a demon. A demon refers to a mentality. So who is a demon? All of us have the demoniac mentality in use. If we let us become overwhelmed by that mentality, then we become demons. Demons often go to the lower planetary systems. These are the places where demons go. Of course, chapter 16 is the big publicity of the demons, their mentality, that a whole chapter, that, yeah. Anyway, we will not go into that. The first lesson of the soul of Bhagavad Gita is that the soul cannot be killed. Avinash tu tat vivins, yena sarvam idam tatam vinasamavyasya na kachit kartam arati. That which pervades the entire body, you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy this imperishable soul. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 2:17 that the soul can never be killed. And in 16:21, Lord Krishna says, Trividam narakasyedam dvaram nashnam kam kodastata lobastasmai vatram tayat. There are three gates leading to this hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane man should give up these, for they lead to the degradation of the soul. So these three gates destroy the soul. Lord Krishna says that the soul can never be destroyed in 16:21. And in 2:17 he says that Natvevam Chatunasham Navam Nemi Chanati Pyanashib Snapa Vishama Sarvaya Matapam. You Arjuna and all these kings and me have always existed in the past, existing now, and will never stop to exist in the future. That's 212, I think, and also in 217 that is expressed. 217. The soul cannot be killed by any weapons. That Avinastu datve jena sarvindantanam vinasam afyasana nakachishkartam anvati. That which pervades the entire body you should know to be indestructible. No one is able to destroy the imperishable soul. And in 1621, which we read just, 3 gates to hell, lust, anger, and greed, destroy the soul. So Krishna is speaking in a non-literal sense here. Killer of the soul, the killer of the spiritual consciousness of the soul. Lust arouses bodily consciousness and kills spiritual awareness. So, let's see further. Yeah, that's so. Further, Srila Prabhupada explains that the scientific advancement has changed form, but not the purpose of activity. So animals may gorge on refuse in a garbage pile, whereas humans may titillate their tongues with processed packaged food. Yeah, you see that also in New York a lot. Animals may mate in the middle of the street, whereas humans may cultivate erotic fantasies through magazines, television, movies, and the internet before indulging in carnal revelry. It has changed the form, but not the purpose of the activities. So technology has changed the form, but not the purpose. Scientific advancement has changed form, but not the purpose of the activities. Animals may sleep on the hard street, whereas humans may sink in oblivion on a soft bed in an air-conditioned room. Animals may startle and show their teeth, whereas humans may brandish weapons of mass destruction. But the essential pleasure or activity is the same. Humans do the same as animals do. Most of the advancement comes from funding, defense and consumer economy, eating, sleeping, mating. We may have very high-class cell phones today, but as a human being, we are still doing the same as the animal. We are not crossing over the material ocean. Therefore, the whole civilization is a soul-killing civilization. Yes, Atmaha means the soul killing in the individual. That means killing the soul means we lose the awareness of the soul, because the soul cannot be killed. But now we have a soul-killing civilization. So humans suffer more than animals. Animals don't die of starvation because of artificial shortages created by others that of their own species. Animals don't suffer from insomnia. Animals don't suffer heartbreaks because of betrayed love. So humans actually suffer more than the animals. There are many surveys of famines. In each of the case, there was enough food in the country, but because of political reasons, it was withheld. Srila Prabhupada speaks about that during the beginning of the Second World War. Because India was under the British rule, and the World War broke out, and they needed soldiers from India, but they knew the Indians would not be interested to join the army. So they forced the Indians by destroying the harvest and artificially take away all the rice for the army. So everyone was starving. So to get food, they would join the army. That was their principle. But it's very cruel. But anyway, so Prabhupada bring that up in a lecture. Despite of all technology, we are not eating as good as the animals do. The dog sleeps in the middle of the street. We are afraid of other human beings. Humans are in many ways worse than animals. Which animals has to do a course on stress management? That we suffer so much from stress. Many fall to addictions. Animals do not commit suicide. Every year 1 million humans commit suicide. That more people are killing themselves than those killed by others. There is something really wrong with our civilization. The reason is misusing the higher for the lower. Srila Prabhupada's purport. They are swine, dogs, camels, asses, etc., whose economic necessities are as important to them as ours. But the economic problems of these animals are solved under nasty and unpleasant conditions. An animal food can become its graveyard. They are in danger, these animals, at every moment. The high responsibility of the human being is spiritual inquiry. They are irresponsible if they do not use the human form to inquire about spiritual life. Human beings are suffering from obesity so much. So much suffering comes from using the body for animalistic pleasures. Because of eating too much, they have to go to the doctor. Men are getting diseases because of engaging in sinful activities. The mentality that human life is meant for sexual pleasure is a deficiency of intelligence. In nature, there is a perfect balance. Every species contributes to the ecology of the planet. Every extinct species causes imbalance in our ecology. What is the contribution of humans to ecology? Their contribution to ecology, is it destructive? We need to contribute to the ecology on a spiritual level by living in harmony with the environment and by using the human body for spiritual advancement and not by exploiting it for sense gratification. So most people are not going back to Godhead, but back to doghead. If one puts a little energy in spiritual advancement, then that advancement will be eternal gain. Srila Prabhupada in the purport says, in Bhagavad Gita 6:41-43, which we just read, it is stated that a man who enters upon the power of self-realization but does not complete the process despite having sincerely tried to realize his relationship with God is given a chance to appear in a family of Suchi, of Srimad. by simply attempting to realize God, one is guaranteed birth in a wealthy or aristocratic family. Just attempting spiritual life gives eternal benefit. But those who do not even make an attempt, who want to be covered by illusion, who are too materialistic and too attached to material enjoyment, must enter into the darkness regions of hell. They are living hellish now and will continue to live in the future. Even those who fail in spiritual life, they also enjoy heavenly planets, heavenly pleasure. They go to heaven and come back and continue their spiritual life. So, what is Srila Prabhupada's conclusion of this third mantra? The conclusion is that as human beings, we are meant not simply to solve economic problems. Solving economic problems on a tottering platform, but for solving all the problems of material life, in which we have been placed by the laws of material laws. After some time we die and leave this material existence. It is a lost cause to solve all problems of the world, as we die soon. That's so. If we only work on a material level, then things become worse. Spiritual life is the best way to contribute to the solution of all problems of the world. And now we will go to mantra 4, which is the last mantra we discuss this evening. Isopanisad. Yes. So we are starting here a new section, the first verse. So we have heard the invocation, the Isavasya, the completeness, that the absolute truth is complete, that we are a part of the whole. We should act as a part and be a part, not be a part. And then we hear about the Isavasya principle, everything belongs to Krishna. Then we heard that we should work based on that principle and use everything in the service of Krishna. And then we are free from bondage. If we don't do that, we suffer, we go down. And then we heard about the Atmaha, the one who is not interested in spiritual life. He goes to hell. That life after life, suffering increases. And now we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5 verses explaining how we can understand Ishvara by spiritual vision. So that's a new section. So if we want to live in harmony with Ishvara, we need to know who is Ishvara. So we need to, if we want to develop a relationship with Krishna, we must know who Krishna is. So if we see the spiritual in the material, then we can go beyond the material. So the first anajat akamana so chajivo naindat deva apnavam purvamarsat tadavatunyan atyati tishta tasmin apomata vishva dadati. Although fixed in his abode, the personality of God that is swifter than the mind and can overcome all other surroundings. The powerful demigods cannot approach him, although in one place He controls those who supply the air and the rain. He surpasses all in excellence. So what is the point of saying that he controls those who supply the air and the rain? Good. We will go into that. So that is the section we are discussing now. Mantra 4 and 5 will discuss Ishvara is inconceivable to our normal intelligence, cannot be understood by our material intelligence. 6-7 says we should develop spiritual vision by seeing worldly things, events and people with equanimity. And point 8, this vision develops further and is directed to Ishvara, who helps us to understand him. So that is the section we are entering now. And this is the overview of the purport of Mantra 4, all the paragraphs, which we'll discuss now. So one can understand the absolute through revelation, not to revelation. One can understand it if Krishna reveals himself. The absolute truth cannot be understood by speculation. That is uncertain. But how does this revelation work? We'll come to that. So, in speculation there is no certainty. We always, maybe, it's unsure. So, in speculation there is no positive knowledge about God. We don't find positive knowledge about God in the Abrahamic religions. Christianity, the Jews, the Islam, all come from Abraham. So what does God look like? They say he loves us, but his form is not described. There is a certain incomprehension that God is infinite and we are finite. Therefore we cannot understand God unless he reveals himself through gradual revelations, and he reveals himself, he gradually reveals himself if we increase our devotional dedication. So the sun rises in the morning, the sunrise is gradual, but our realization that the sun has risen is there every morning. The sunrise is gradual, but our realization is that the sun has risen. Every day we practice devotional service, and then the Krishna sun is rising in our heart. There are flashes of inspirations that come when we create a background of steady engagement in devotional service. So God is not alone. God has his energies. Srila Prabhupada in the purport writes that, we see that here, fire is always connected with heat and light, and at the same time heat is different from light. We cannot analytically separate both. They are an organic whole. So analysis means we break things into parts. And that we break things into parts, analysis, for our understanding. And synthesis means putting it together and make it work. So analysis is insufficient. When a child learns a language, it's through synthesis. The child understands the language through functioning. Then later the child learns the analysis. This comes later, grammar, nouns, verbs, and so on. To learn German, I take a textbook that is analytical. That in that way, Krishna consciousness is learned to synthesis. When we meet the devotees, we become attracted by the culture and the living way of devotees, right? We learn from synthesis. Then later they learn why devotees are so kind. They understand that they are not a body. Then analysis comes. In real life, it is the synthesis that makes things work. Then later analysis comes. Analysis and synthesis are important. Srila Prabhupada in the purport writes, in the Vishnu Purana, his potencies are compared to the heat and light that emanate from a fire. Although situated in one place, a fire can distribute its light and heat for some distance. Similarly, the absolute personality of Godhead, although fixed in his transcendental abode, can diffuse his different energies. The Supreme Lord is one unit, and he has energies, and these energies are distributed everywhere. So the fire burns, the fire and burning are the same, but are different at the same time. Fire is what happens when fire is there, and then there is burning. Both are related, but are not entirely the same. If they were the same, then there is no need to say burning, just say fire. But if we want to explain that a fire burns, then we use the verb burn. Burning is a property of fire. So, as we are limited, we can understand the unlimited through a revelation. We need to be a part of Krishna's plan. If we try to be separate from Krishna, then we suffer. We are a part of Krishna. Bhagavad Gita 15:7. Mamaitam Sochi Vedakrishiva Bhuta Sanatana. Krishna says we are an eternal, separate part of him. So all living entities are Lord Krishna's parts. If the mind is filled with unlimited desires, then there is scarcity, struggling. Thus use all your talents in the service of God. Goes down here. Yeah, we come to that. So we can compare materialist, impersonalist, and devotees. Materialists, their only reality is the world. Impersonalists, they say this world is illusion. And devotees says the world and the spiritual world are real. The spiritual world is eternal and the material world is temporary. That's the difference. So the materialists, by singing Monday songs, they are expanding illusion. They use their talents to become more deeply trapped in illusion. Impersonalists, they forget their talents, just have to go beyond this world. But devotional service, devotees, if someone has an ability, then it's not false. Krishna says, I'm the ability in man. Actually, Lord Krishna is the ability in the people. That ability is coming from Krishna. It's using that ability taken. If we use that ability, it takes us to God. Or take that, we use this ability. We can have two possibilities. We use it in Krishna's service, then we take it to God. or we use it for ourselves, then we take it away from God. So that is our free will. Our ability should be used to take us to God. Whatever branch of knowledge is there, the ultimate purpose is to glorify God. Bhakti means using your talents to glorifying God. When will God reveal Himself? When we serve Him. And how do we serve Him? By using our talents in His service. We need to act according to the Lord's will. Every part and parcel of the complete whole is endowed with some particular energy to act according to the Lord's will. When the part and parcel living entity forgets his particular activities under the Lord's will, he is considered to be Maya, illusion. Thus, from the very beginning of Sri Isopanisad warns us to be careful to play the part designated for us by God. This does not mean that the individual soul has no initiative of his own, because he is a part and parcel of the Lord. He must partake of the initiative of the Lord as well. So what is the part for us given by the Lord? Therefore, Krishna established Varnashram. The essence of Varnashram was to help people to cooperate, to live in harmony with the Lord. Varnam is an arrangement for taking care of the bodily needs, and ashram an arrangement for spiritual needs. Now the essence of this is that peoples have different talents, natures, and they need to be engaged accordingly. In the beginning of our movement, there were many experts, book distributors. They wanted to introduce their own method for book distribution in other temples. When they asked Srila Prabhupada, he replied, so don't tell other people what to say. Inspire them, and they will find their own way. So devotional service is individual, voluntary, spontaneous. And these are the last points of the purport. Srila Prabhupada said, don't tell other people what to say. Inspire them, and they will find their own way to serve. We are all unique. So, individual, unique. The Bhakti scriptures explain that in the spiritual world everyone has unique characteristics. Individuality is ingrained within us. The individuality cannot be disregarded or neglected. So we have all different fingerprints. So no one can force anyone else to serve Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said, initially the car is not moving, then some people from outside push the car and the driver gets the car started. Others will come and help us to engage in Krishna service. That we can inspire others but cannot force others, so it's voluntary. It is something that I need to perform based on my inspiration, devotional service. Then only can I perform devotional service. If a person is sick, then he has to take treatment. Bhakti purifies our individuality, does not annihilate our individuality. From our place, at our pace, join. From our place, at our pace, join the race. That's the point. And the race is back to Krishna. And that's the Varnashram. So from our place where we are now, our pace means not everyone can practice spiritual life on the same level. Then everyone makes spiritual advancement on their level. So we should live in the shelter of the Lord. Everyone can be accommodated in devotional service, and then everything will work out wonderfully. when we cooperate with Krishna, then he will take care of us. Srila Prabhupada said, what do you want to do for Krishna? So someone try to understand our philosophy. What do you want to do? And you do that for Krishna. And that is devotional service. Like this devotee will come to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, ask me whatever you want, I will do it. And Srila Prabhupada said, what do you want to do for Krishna? And the devotee said, oh no, Prabhupada, just say me what to do, I will do it. And then he said, try to understand our philosophy. What do you want to do for Krishna? And the devotee said to Prabhupada, I will try to make mridangas out of another material than clay, a material that is unbreakable. So Srila Prabhupada said, yes, do that. And he made so many mridangas during his life. All these fiberglass mridangas comes from him. So my engagement in devotional service is my responsibility. This does not mean that we do not need the mercy of a spiritual master by expanding my service, but expanding my service is my responsibility. The spiritual master will correct me, but I need to go my way. I discover that there are two phases. You have that's also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual Svadharma and the material Svadharma. We have the spiritual phase. I'm a spirit soul, but we have our psychophysical nature. So then I use my psychophysical nature in the service of Krishna. That will enable me to serve Krishna for an entire lifetime. So actions, emotions, intentions are important in developing our Krishna consciousness. That Krishna says, yes, Yeya tamam papachanti tamstateva jamyam, that mama vartman vartate manusya parta sarvasa. Everyone follows my path, Krishna says, in all respectful, and I reward them accordingly. So Krishna says, I reveal myself in the heart of the pure devotee. If we are attracted to Krishna, then then we will make spiritual progress. So Krishna is a rule for us, a service, and we progress and our understanding becomes clearer. Devotional service is dynamic. We offer ourselves to Krishna, and Krishna offers himself to us. So Krishna is the abode of all qualities and the reservoir of all happiness. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport to end. So Krishna is abode of all qualities and the reservoir of all happiness. If we connect with Krishna, we become happy. Srila Prabhupada, all power is obtained from the Lord. Therefore, each particular power must be utilized to execute the will of the Lord and not otherwise. The Lord can be known by one who has adopted such a submissive service attitude. Perfect knowledge means knowing the Lord in all his features, knowing his potencies and knowing how these potencies will work. So that is the end of mantra 4, end of the class today. Any questions, comments? Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Maharaj. I'm Bhavatush.
Yes,
I'm very obeisance to you. Last class also I couldn't attend physically, Dandavat. So I was listening whole classes and following the Isopanisad, Sri Isopanisad I have. I wish from next Sunday I'll be present physically.
Okay.
Yesterday I had my office work also. Uncertainly, it was said there was a deployment, so I had to work with some other developer. I'm following. So I will read the last four mantras with the description, and if I have question, maybe I'll raise this next class.
Okay, good.
Thank you, thank you, Maharaj.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
That,
And Dandavat all the devotees here.
yeah.
Thank
There's
you. Thank
one
you.
question also here. Yes?
Thank you very much. I wanted to ask, can you explain a little more this point about you were giving the example with the fire? I think when we are analyzing and synthesizing,
Yeah.
especially the point about synthesis, how it works this whole thing, I don't understand.
Yeah, it's like you have. If a devotee sees a flower, he's not botanically going to analyze the whole flower. This is the stamper, this is the filament, this is the. No, that he sees the flower and he sees it as beautiful because Krishna is the greatest artist, and he looks at the aesthetic side. And looking at the aesthetic side is synthesis. And he offers it to Krishna. So in that way that's how we learn in Krishna consciousness. The other example was given, yes. Devotees learn in Krishna consciousness, they come in contact with devotees, they come in contact with prasadam, they hear they are not the body, but they engage in devotional service. But then later the philosophy comes, the analysis, why we are doing. And we are going into philosophy here, the Isavasya principle. It's why we do things. And that gives intellectually faith to do it. We understand why we do things. And that's important, because that will purify us. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Vitaraya Pampaya Kodaman Mayamam Pashuta Bhavu Kana Tapasa Puttamat Bhavam Agata. One will become free from attachment, fear and anger. Because that's the body concept of life. This attachment, the anger, that's because we think we are the body. One becomes free from that through, and because one becomes purified by transcendental knowledge, by hearing Krishna's words in Bhagavad Gita. We get the analysis and we become purified. So it's important. Both aspects are important. But finally, in the practice, we learn by synthesis, by doing the activity. The gopis, when they serve Krishna, they are not going to analyze things. Although they are great philosophers also. But yeah, they simply want to love Krishna. That it's a higher knowledge. It's the bhakti is the higher knowledge. The transcendental knowledge we learn from Bhagavad Gita is learning that we are not a body, and engaging in the process of engaging in devotional service, the process of engaging everything in Krishna's service. That is a Savasya principle. And that's very good for those who are in the body concept of life, like all of us. But finally it becomes synthesis.
Yes, Maharaj, I have one more request. The slide you going through, actually I tried to take note while was in the screen. Is it possible we will be delivered those slides to some point?
Well, I gave link of the last recording to Tulsi Prabhu, and I think he
Yeah.
forwarded it to you. And I will send you also the link of this presentation. So then you have the video and you have all everything on the screen.
That works. That works. I took some of this on the time of the class, but I'm going to overview those whole video. You already sent it. I'll get most of this. Okay. Thank you,
Okay,
Maharaj.
thank you.
Thank you.
Something else? Yes.
Krishna Maharaj, couple of questions actually. Can you explain like what does karma look like in this day and age when we see, like when the Gita describes that karma is what is a prescribed duty for a person. So I'm trying to understand what does it look like. Or
Yeah.
can you give me some examples just so that it becomes more clear?
Krishna explains that in Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter. In the 4th chapter, there. From a little further. Says, this is 4:16. Kim karma kim akarmeti kavayopyato moita. Tati karma pasakshami yat. Even the intelligent are bewildered in determining what is action and what is inaction. Now I will explain to you what action is, knowing which you shall be liberated. That and then in the next verse it says, the intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should properly know what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So 3 kinds of karma, Krishna says.
Yeah, in 17 they have like all 3 karmas. Yes.
Karma,
Karma, vikarma, and akarma.
And vikarma,
Vikarma.
and akarma. So, akarma means that one, and that is what we explained today. Akarma means that we understand that God is the proprietor of everything, and everything is, because He's a proprietor, everything is meant for His enjoyment. So therefore, we use everything in His service. And by that we become free from karma. So you have our action, and there's a mentality behind. The mentality, the consciousness behind the action, makes it karma, akarma, or vikarma. That's very important. What's the consciousness from akarma, which is Krishna consciousness? It's using everything in Krishna's service for His pleasure. And then there are no reactions. So that's akarma. But then every other karma will get reactions, good or bad. Good reactions means which are according to the scriptures, that actions which leads to good reactions. And what's against this is vikarma, and is a cause of suffering. So what causes suffering is called sinful activities of vikarma. So sinful activities of vikarma means that I'm doing it for my sense gratification. And the karma, the good karma, is I'm doing it out of duty because the scriptures say I should do it. These are moral rules and so on. which are described in the scriptures. That you must honor your father, you must, yeah, you must eat vegetarian food, not kill animals for your sense gratification. That so these are good actions in the mode of goodness. That there you don't. That then there the like good actions in the scriptures is you are taking care of your father and your mother. What will be the reaction in your future life? Someone will care for you. You give charity to people. In your next life, you will get it back with interest, Prabhupada says.
Maharaj, then I have one question with that. Uh, so, like, if we do the karma with different action, we expect it after doing that karma. If we expect something and it is a good things also, then we can put in as a karma. But
Yeah, from the moment we are desire things for ourselves, then we get karma.
and it is good. It's like passion and goodness mixed in the karma. Passion and goodness.
Yeah, passion and goodness, that and the other is passion and ignorance.
I'm not taking ignorance in the
Vikarma.
karma. We can put ignorance in the B karma. Is it like that? Like passion and goodness in the karma, and
Well, sinful activities means do it for one's own sense gratification. That's the
yes,
definition.
that's it. Yeah,
But
yeah.
but but that's passion and also
Uh,
ignorance. It's also
yeah.
ignorance because you identify with the body.
I see. I see. Yeah.
So passion and ignorance, that's the
Yes.
problem. Goodness gets good reactions, but you have also to take birth. So good reactions
Okay.
are also bad from the soul, from the view of the soul.
I see.
You must take birth again for that who wants that. So
Thank
we
you,
are
Maharaj.
going for akarma, Krishna consciousness, do everything for the pleasure of Krishna. Is that clear, these three kinds?
Then,
Yes, Maharaj. Clear for me.
Okay.
then when we are serving our parents, like how do we do that in a karma?
Yeah, this is described in the Manu Samhita. All the rules for humans, how they should. So it is said there in the Manu Samhita, you should honor your parents. Like in India, that's in the culture. The children get up, and the first thing in the morning they go to especially the, the, the parents and the grandparents, and touch their feet in offer obeisances. That, and they take care of them with that. So if you don't do that, then that's sinful. But if one is in Krishna consciousness and uses his body, mind, and words for Krishna, then one is above these rules. Then you don't have to follow this. You are free from that. But if you don't do that, then you must follow, because you will suffer greatly when you don't do that. So in this age, that's not very popular, but anyway, that's what the scriptures say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is I think this is happened when uh, Shiva, Lord Shiva, did not honor in the meeting of the King Daksha. He didn't stand in honor, and Daksha was very angry. And
yeah,
actually,
that's what
Shiva is
Shiva
the
said.
big Vaishnava, like king of the Vaishnava. So he worshipped him all the time. So he was not in this bound. he has to stand up or something, because he was always worshipping Krishna.
Yeah, with
But Daksha didn't understand that.
Daksha did not understand
Yeah,
the spiritual position of Lord Shiva.
yeah,
And
yeah.
therefore he was thinking, yes, he's my son-in-law and he does not offer respect to me, and that's in the Manu Samhita, so he's
Yeah.
not of good character. That's what he said then later. But that's, yeah, that's, you have the transcendental position, but that's pure devotional service. But well, if you are not in pure devotional service yet, and that takes a while, you must follow that and respect your parents, that
Yeah.
take care of them.
We will, Maharaj. We will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Something else?
So we can do it as a service to Krishna also. Like even when you're offering our obeisances to the elders in the family.
Yeah, then it becomes transcendental. And that is the point, that that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Vidya vinaya sampane brahmana gavyas nisyam sevsva pakacha panada samadarshana. See the Supreme Lord in everyone's heart, even in the heart of an elephant, a Sudra or a Brahman, and serve Krishna by serving them. But it requires spiritual vision. Like 35 years ago, I was the head of administration in a geriatric department of a hospital, all old people. And that hospital belonged to the Cistercian sisters. It's an order of the Benedict nuns. And many of these nuns were working in the hospital, and I was asking, how do you see your service if you serve all these sick people and these old people? And they said, everyone we serve, we see Krishna. They told me that we see it as serving Jesus Christ. So they saw Jesus, which is for them God, in the heart of everyone. So that's spiritual. That if you see everything as a part and parcel of Krishna, and you understand Krishna has put me in this position, and I'm serving him, and this is my service, taking care of my parents, then becomes spiritual. But also with children, you educate your children, you see these are not my children, Krishna's children. It's my duty to make them Krishna consciousness. So that's spiritual vision.
Yes, Maharaj. This time it happens. While I was not taking my initiation, my dad was really frustrated last 2-3 years. Recently I did it. My father is very happy. I was the almost last person taking initiation in my family.
Yeah.
So my father became very happy. Now he is feeling, he's 84, he is feeling he did his great job. He make all the children a devotee. Following some, we follow better, some still not that advanced. It happens, but he tried to put in the path. So that's the way actually parents become happy when children go in this path.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Something else?
One last question, Maharaj. Thank you.
Yeah, we are beyond 11 minutes. Maharaj, thank you for giving us even late.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think there is one more question, the last question.
Yes. Thank you.
In the last verse, you gave the example of this devotee who wanted to make 5 glass Nutambas. But that was his calling that he felt in his heart, and Prabhupada gave him the blessing to it. How do you suggest that we find out what is our calling, what is our dharma, so to say?
So we have this body, and with this body we got a certain psychophysical nature. And it's not difficult to find out your psychophysical nature. What are you good in? What are your likes? That's your nature. And then one should use that in Krishna's service. That's also the point of a spiritual master. A spiritual master sees his disciple and and guides him in engaging him according to his nature in Krishna's service. So what you are good in, your talents, that's your nature. And mostly what you are good in, you like also to do. And that's important that you do that, acting according to your nature. Like astrology is a calculation of your karma, and an expert astrologer can see in your chart what's your nature. So I have in my astrological chart, I have Jupiter and Saturn in Sagittarius, which is my 12th house. And I have the Mercury in Gemini. Mercury in Gemini means high intelligence. I'm an intellectual. And Jupiter means I'm a teacher. And Jupiter is in conjunction with Saturn, and Saturn means renunciation. So I'm using my intelligence to teach renunciation, to teach Krishna consciousness. That's my nature, I'm a teacher.
Wow, excellent.
And I'm using that in Krishna's service.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can also find out your nature and engage you according to your nature. Because if you don't do that, then you will materially you will not feel satisfied. And that's important, to feel materially satisfied. Because we are not yet on a spiritual platform. But if you use your nature in Krishna's service, then you will become purified, and it will change your nature, spiritualize. And when you are completely pure, you can do anything. But then it doesn't matter. But it takes a while, 30, 40 years. But it works, guaranteed, if you do it strictly. We must have the enthusiasm and the patience. But I see after I'm practicing 35 years Krishna consciousness, I can say yes, it works. But you need patience. Does that help? Okay, so thank you very much. Then
Thank you, Maharaj. Dandavat.
We see each other on next Sunday.
Yeah, I wish I'm not going to be any obstacle. I can see all the Vaishnavas here. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat. Pranam again. Good evening.